Nigeria, a vibrant tapestry of places, people, stories, struggles, and unshakable spirits. Politicians make promises, but who really holds them accountable? I'm Donu, and this isn't just about politics. This is about us. This is where we confront the hard truths that few say publicly. Hello everyone, welcome to Nigeria Unfiltered. Well, today I want to talk about killings in northern Nigeria. Now, last weekend I released a short video. It was almost like an extended soundbite, and it was all about the murders of Christians in the north. I said that I didn't know enough about the situation. I hadn't done enough research to decide whether to describe what was going on as a genocide, but that, I highlighted the fact that Christians are being slaughtered in large numbers now and have been for the past few years. Okay, so this mini video about Christian deaths in northern Nigeria attracted criticism from two categories of people. First, from concerned Christians, Nigerian and foreign, who believe that there is a systematic genocide going on in this country, and they have powerful international allies such as Senator Ted Cruz, the American Republican politician. And they felt I was downplaying what was going on, either out of ignorance or some kind of desire to be politically correct and not offend Muslims or the authorities in this country, which is, we have a Muslim-dominated government. So that was one type of criticism that I received. But I also received criticism from Muslims. And I must say that the criticism from Muslims was far more vicious than the criticisms from Christians, in the sense that the Muslims almost were offended that I had even mentioned that Christians were dying. They didn't notice the nuances in my video where I had said, well, I'm not sure it's a genocide, but bad stuff is going on. It was like, how dare I even mention the topic? Don't get me wrong, not all of the Muslims who saw this video and contacted me reacted like that. But there was a little hardcore of them who called me irresponsible, wondered why I was focusing on Christian deaths when Muslims also get slaughtered by bandits and terrorists in northern Nigeria. And these ones had no doubts that my motives were nefarious. They even took offense that I pointed out that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu had created a slightly unwelcoming vibe for Christians in this country when, instead of picking a northern Christian running mate during the 2023 election, he chose a fellow Muslim. Because what we have been doing, for those of you who don't know Nigerian politics, like my friend Patricia from America, who's very interested, I always try to throw in one or two small explanations. In Nigeria, we have Muslims, we have Christians, and it has always been the case that if the president is a Muslim, the vice president is a Christian, or vice versa. Until Tinubu came along. Suddenly, it didn't matter, and he's a Muslim, and his running mate is a Muslim. To be fair to President Tinubu, I don't really think that he is a religious bigot himself, because his wife is a Christian. And I said so at the time in my newspaper column in 2022 and 2023, during the whole election campaign drama. I said that I did not think that Tinubu himself was a religious bigot, because he was married to a devout Christian woman. And he's a Yoruba Muslim anyway, and they're a lot more flexible in a general sense, okay? Yoruba Muslims are from the south, not from the core north. Anyway, you'll just have to Google if you want to know more about this complex issue, if you're a foreigner. Anyway, but my beef with Tinubu is that he allowed himself to be browbeaten into picking a fellow Muslim as his running mate, when if he had insisted and put his foot down and picked a Christian from the north, because we have Christians and Muslims all over this country, if he had picked a Christian from the north, he would have sent out a powerful message. It would have been, because northern Christians are, have historically been oppressed, okay, by the Muslims. And if Tinubu had said, I'm sorry, I am going to choose a northern Christian running mate, it would have sent out a signal to all those bigots out there that Christians matter as much as Muslims, and that he was going to respect the right of Christians to be represented at the top of the Nigerian political tree. But apparently, or so I'm told, northern Muslims, the hardcore ones, were harassing him. He had to pick a Muslim. They would not accept a northern Christian as their representative at the presidential level, blah, blah, blah. In the end, whether it was his idea trying to be smart and pragmatic to ally with powerful Muslim interests in the north, or whether he was bullied, he wound up picking Shettima, the vice president, who is a Muslim. Now, again, don't get me wrong. I have got nothing against Shettima. In fact, I've always quite liked the look and sound of Shettima. I'm just saying that I don't think he and Tinubu should have been paired on one ticket. For the sake of balance and for the sake of respecting Christian sensibilities and sensitivities, and to tell those who think it's okay to attack Christians in the north that Christians in the north are under his protection, that they're his people too, that they matter. You would think that this very simple reasoning, this logic about asking a head of state to show equal love to an oppressed minority, I don't even know if they're a minority, because I like I said, I haven't done enough research to know what the percentages are. But let's just say that Christian Northerners have been under a lot of pressure, and Tinubu could have taken them under his wing and told everybody, hey, we're turning the tide. We're breaking this taboo. I'm not going to succumb to those who are harassing me because the way politics are in Nigeria, it's like, when you say you have a north-south ticket, the northerner must always be a Muslim. It can never be a Christian. Whereas we in the south, our own candidate, Tinubu is our candidate, he's a southerner. We don't care whether he's a Muslim or a Christian. At least I don't care, and I know lots of people don't care. So, we're willing to accept a southern Muslim president, but we will expect him to choose. Southern Christians are willing to accept a southern Muslim president, but they would expect him to choose a northern Christian to balance things up. But he didn't. Anyway, it's all very complicated, and it's unfortunate aspects of Nigerian politics that tribe matters, religion matters, regional considerations matter. So that's just the way the cookie crumbles for now. And some of the people who thought that Tinubu had every right, the Muslims who contacted me, who thought that Tinubu had every right to pick a fellow Muslim, said that Tinubu's choice of a fellow Muslim proves that religion doesn't matter, that he's not interested in playing politically correct identity politics, that he just picks the best man for the job. I bet you anything they wouldn't have said that if a Christian president had also picked the best man for the job and there were two Christians running this country at the top, right? And I got to tell you that if a Christian president or presidential candidate picked a Christian running mate, I wouldn't be happy about it, because I'm not a bigot. I'm not a religious bigot. And in a country of this type, I recognize the need to respect all the different constituencies, or as many of them as you can, okay? So I'm actually very, very angry about some of the responses I got from Muslim people who watched my video about Christian deaths in the North. I'm furious. It's an insult. I told one of them that he's just entitled. How dare he? He's questioning me for mentioning a Christian death out of context. And then he doesn't want to criticize Tinubu for picking a Muslim running mate when picking a Christian could have given Christians in the North a sense of belonging and a sense of protection. You know, I mean, people like that. This guy is not normally that bad. I was shocked by the veneer of civilization being peeled off and all this visceral, sectarian defensiveness came into the picture. He knows who he is, and he's not the only one, by the way. And let me say that I also received some mild reservations from a couple of Muslim friends. I won't name them, but I felt that their queries were reasonable. One of them has been sending me information to help me do the research so that I know what's really going on, both for Christians and Muslims. And it has to be said that one of the Pope's representatives, I think a cardinal, I'll tell you more about all this at a later date, has reminded everybody that Muslims are also being killed by terrorists and bandits in Nigeria. And I believe that Bishop Matthew Cooker, a Christian Catholic bishop from the North, has said something similar. So, peeps, let's not become entrenched in positions that are entirely based on prejudice and self-interest. Let's not say, hey, I'm a Christian and I'm from the South, so I must doggedly pursue a Southern or Christian agenda at all times to the exclusion of all other reasonable options. Let us not say I'm a Northerner and a Muslim, and I'm going to be doggedly Muslim or doggedly Northern whenever there's a conflict of interest. Part of being civilized and enlightened means acknowledging other people's pain, acknowledging the mistakes that you and people on your side of the fence have made. And so let me just say that I 100% accept that Northern Muslims have also suffered a lot at the hands of criminal gangs and terrorists. And I'm sure some of them have been killed by Christians too. I just don't know what the numbers are. And I actually once saw film footage of Northern Muslim villagers fleeing from Boko Haram. Boko Haram is like, our local version of ISIS. It's a terrorist organization. And they don't, they claim to be very religious, but they don't seem to give a damn about fellow Muslims. Anyway, there's this village, they had attacked this village, they'd gone away and they said they were coming back or something. And if you saw the people just running for their lives, it moved me to tears, So I'm not here to downplay anybody's suffering. And I will thank those who think that I do not have a right to complain about Christian assassinations or murders in the North. I would tell them to get out of my face and allow me to talk about what is wrong, regardless of who it is done to and who it is done by. And by the way, I also accept one of the theories about the violence in the North, which is that it really just boils down to economics. That actually the people who are doing the killing, it's not just it's not really about religion. It's about economic hardship. It's about a fight for resources. These are all the areas that I intend to research in the coming days or weeks so that I can form a strong opinion based on facts rather than just on random gossip and speculation or, those sorts of stuff you see online, which isn't always accurate. Another thing that really pissed me off about some of the Muslim criticisms of my video was them saying, if you mention Christian killings, you must also mention Muslim killings. I said it was a soundbite that didn't even run for 2 minutes. I was highlighting a particular issue. If I'm talking about enjoying eba and egusi, must I also talk about enjoying jollof rice? I mean, journalists are allowed to concentrate on single topics. And the single topic I chose to concentrate on last weekend was Christians are being killed like dogs in the north. And so are some Muslims as well. Muslims are also being killed. So, but I don't have to make those points in the same video. I'm making it now. I will make it again in future. I have written articles about northern tragedies in the past, northern Muslim tragedies and victims. Okay? So where does that leave us? Well, it leaves us with me hoping that even though President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has already made the mistake, in my opinion, of having a fellow northern Muslim vice president instead of having a Christian, which would have given out a great message of unity and hope to at least our Christian brethren in the north. Well, he still is the big boss, and he still has a chance to show serious love and concern for communities that are being razed to the ground, and children and women and men who are being annihilated. So I hope that he does take this problem seriously. It's very, very bad for Nigeria's image internationally that people are talking about a Christian genocide, or even if they are talking about a Muslim genocide, any which one, it is bad for the country's reputation. Okay? And, other than hoping that the authorities do something to get us out of this embarrassing, sad situation, I also think that we, ordinary Christians and Muslims, especially those who are educated and exposed, especially those of us who really genuinely have friends across the religious divide, I think we should join hands and make that whole situation better on a lower level than the political security maneuverings. I'd even go so far as to say that we should form some kind of nationwide cross-religion organization to show that it really doesn't matter where you're coming from, that we're all human beings, we're all God's children. So, looking forward to hearing your views about this. Thank you very much.